My man, let's go. Let's go, Jack. My man, let's go.
Yeah.
My boy, man.
My man. Let's go.
How you doing?
How you doing? Let's go.
Did y'all boys not get the memo?
Let's
All
go,
right.
man. Come on.
How we doing? How we doing?
First, I just want to give Patrick his flowers. He just went up, crushed
Let's
it.
give a round of applause for Patrick.
Come on, guys. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
He's back already.
I love it. I appreciate you guys. Well, I know this is your first time in coming to the event. I'm curious on your first thoughts compared to other events you guys have gone, and like, how you guys feeling? Like, what's been like for you guys?
I've absolutely loved every bit of it. The energy's been incredible. Great lineup of speakers and a ton of value delivered all around. Night 1, 2, and 3, everything's been great. We appreciate you.
I love it. I love it.
It's been awesome just getting to connect with so many creators, entrepreneurs, people trying to better themselves, and just showing love and having conversations with everybody this weekend has been amazing.
It's been a pleasure to not only just meet you finally in person, also Icon, but like I've just met so many amazing people here. Genuinely, like so many cool creators, entrepreneurs, brands. So for everyone I've met, it's been a pleasure. You guys are amazing.
Lovely. I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. So for those who don't know, I would love for you guys to just all introduce yourselves, because I know James is, for the most part, the face of the brand, but this big brand is powered by these three incredible gentlemen. And so I would love for everyone just to, especially because we were talking about how creators are building businesses, really structuring like media companies. These guys, I think for me, are the example of what's possible. And I would love for you guys just to give an introduction, what you guys do, how do you guys break down today, and what does business look like today?
100%. So, started the channel back in 2021. The three of us all had a passion for business, saw a massive opportunity with the creator economy. It was a $250 billion industry, and we took that passion for business and just wanted to start creating content ourselves. Virality and understanding and mastering the algorithm was a skill that we had developed around 2019 to 2020 before we started this channel. So kind of took that skill set into growing this channel initially. And it was initially where just the three of us were, focused on just let's create content about business and see where it goes. We knew the organic growth and how to ultimately grow a channel. But, it was just us three giving the advice ourselves. And then we realized, man, a lot of people don't give a shit about 3 young 20-year-old kids giving business advice. We could pivot and actually go seek out and find the experts that have 30, 40, 50 years of experience and allow them to kind of deliver that content. So started off of, just making content, and that's what it was initially, monetized off of ad revenue, but then, a savvy entrepreneur, they look at their business and look at all the different ways in which they could be making money. It's that concept of vertical integration in which we all love, and that's exactly what we did. We looked at all the different verticals. So I focus primarily on content media. We've got 16 million followers now, focused on getting to 20, 30 million. It's all about distribution, and then these two incredible guys have been able to help build out all the businesses, and I'll let them break that down a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. For those that don't know, my name is Jack Dumoulin. James and I are brothers, and Joshua Smith is our good friend that we grew up with. And obviously we grew up in the DC area, and the DC it's corporate, it's very federal, and so for the three of us, it just stood out that we wanted something more, we wanted something bigger, and wanted to create something for ourselves, and that's what kind of bonded us, brought us together. We were creating the content ourselves, and then eventually we had to realize it's like, hey, we're content creators, we're making great content, but at some point we got to start making some money. So James is just a talented interviewer and creator. I would like to say the best interviewer in the world.
That's right.
Hands down. So
Let's go, James. Let's go.
And that's when Josh and I kind of took that backseat role, wanting to be able to build the company. And just having a team like this, we try to operate in each of our production quadrants where each of us really thrives in what we bring to the table. And so James goes out and gets incredible content. I myself kind of oversee the operations for some of our businesses, and Josh oversees some of the operations for our businesses. We have a paid community, an agency, a high-ticket program, brand partnerships, and just the overall day-to-day of growing the team. We have about 30 total team members that work on the whole School of Hard Knocks ecosystem today, and we've been doing that in about 4 years.
Incredible. Incredible.
I'm Joshua Smith, and I work primarily on like the brand partnerships. We have an agency. I help run the agency, and every day it's a pleasure to work with these guys, because one of the things that I think is amazing is one of the things that we have really done is like you got to play your role within the team. And just like James uses the creative outlet of creating videos and growing the brand, I'd say Jack and I get our creative outlet from building a business and doing business deals. So being a creator and being creative is not about just making videos, but it's also about making creative deals and growing a business.
Wow, incredible. And I'm curious, when you guys first started, how did you end up being the face of the brand and you potentially like doing the community side, you do more of the brand? How did you guys figure out who did what? And my second question to that is, how do you then align incentives so that everyone's excited to grow and make this happen?
Yeah, so initially, like we said, we started out where we were all making the content ourselves. And I think it ultimately came down to where, you just need one person to really create the content and then you can kind of build the businesses around that. I think that both of them can agree with me when I say that I've literally like lost my mind in terms of like the interviews themselves. Like I can't go anywhere without like seeing somebody and being like, man, that's 10 million views right there.
Well, I'll tell you this.
We
We would be in like a Jersey Mike's sub shop, and there'd be a guy in line, and James would be like, "Oh, we got to get this interview. We got to get this interview." And it's like the poor guy just wants to eat a sandwich, but then he's answering business questions on a global channel.
Lovely. So when you guys first started, you just had a natural inclination for creating content, and you guys more on the business side. But as you guys were growing and the kind of business started, how did you guys find yourself kind of in this position? How did you guys then divide, at least between both of you then? How do you guys figure out who did what?
I think that, it kind of goes back before we started Hard Knocks. When the three of us came together, the reason why we saw this as a great partnership was because each of us kind of had our own verticals and venture and promise before we even started Hard Knocks. James grew his personal brand on TikTok to about 800, 900,000 followers. I myself was getting mentored by a top CEO in Austin. I'd won a world global championship for Microsoft Excel. I beat over 2 million people in a Microsoft Excel competition. And
what?
Yeah,
what?
Hey, give it up for Jack.
I did not expect that at all. Let's go. Wow, man.
If people here have no idea, this is the #1 user of Microsoft Excel in the world.
Hell yeah. Wow.
So I was 17 getting offers from a bunch of companies to build software for them, and so that started my entrepreneurial career. And Josh, he himself started a digital marketing company and was servicing clients in our area, and so there was nobody else in our hometown doing that, and that's where the three of us came together. And so James, obviously with the creator background, served as a great point, as he always had that creative mind, and Josh and I were coming from kind of running our own businesses into this, and so that's why it made sense to do it that way.
Wow, super interesting. So when you guys first started then, it started really as a dream to build a media brand, not necessarily, okay, we have this agency, for example, Josh already had this agency. Was it you guys always had the idea of, hey, we want to funnel to this, or was it, let's just build the content? What came first? I'm trying to figure out. So it's really content, and then the product, then you guys started verticalizing over time.
Let's be very clear here, Patrick.
All right.
We were eating shit for the first couple years.
Yep.
No question.
People don't see that.
No, they don't. And here's the thing. You got to come to this realization that more often than not, 95% of the time, great businessmen are terrible content creators, and great content creators are terrible businessmen. We had the pleasure, though, of the people that we were surrounding ourselves with and interviewing. These are like legit people that have like built businesses, so you get to like actually learn from these people and implement what they're teaching us. You can't be addicted to education and allergic to execution, which is what I think so many people are, right? Information can change situations, but only through implementation, which is why like we actually had to learn how to build the businesses. When we first started to like actually make money, it was all just ad revenue. This is like the first 2 years, would you say?
Yeah, you can't build a business off ad revenue.
You cannot, and that's the realization we came to. When you post a video on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you don't own that content anymore. They own the content. They can determine whether they want to pay you or not. So we're like a year in, we ended up making, we got to a point where, Facebook, people don't realize this, in 2020 was the first year Facebook ever stopped growing. They stagnated. So what was their incentive to get creators to come to their platform and attract more people? They had to start paying creators a bag. So we're making like $35,000 a month off of Facebook. And what ultimately ended up happening is that we got demonetized. And it was our original content. But sometimes that's not up to your control. Like that shit happens, you can get flagged. And and then that's when we came to that realization that you can't build a business off of ad revenue. So then we looked at, okay, what's that skill that we're disproportionately better than 99% of people at? It's organic content. Yep. So then with them, it's like, hey, they came up with the idea of like starting the marketing agency. And then that's when it was like, okay, we're even wealthy entrepreneurs, we know how to do content, boom, let's grow their personal brands.
I think that's one of the lessons right there is, I think oftentimes people look at their business, they look at their skills, it's like the three of us are not gonna go start a home remodeling company. You need to use the skill set that you already have and are exceptionally better than others at and go all in on that. So like he said, we knew we were better at content. I had some previous experience within the agency game. So it's like, look, while the three of us can't reach our financial goals, our business goals through just ad revenue alone, what can we do is we can vertically integrate by creating an agency, and that's the first business that we created.
I want to go back to this because I feel like this is such a difficult part of building a startup, which is building the right team and finding the right people to complement you. And I think you guys did such an incredible job. And so when you guys found the roles between, you guys saw the opportunity of building the agency, bring all that together, then how do you guys align, I want to get this because this is such an important, how do you guys align incentives as a team to be able to actually scale and be able to, hey, I'm the content, but how do you balance all of these different businesses? Is it one together or each business has its own structure? I don't know if you guys are open to talking about that, but I feel like that's such an important
Absolutely.
lesson.
So ever since we started this, we've just had a very clear vision. There were two main reasons why we started School of Hard Knocks. The type of content that we were making. One, we were not super wild about the way in the traditional school system, there's not that much emphasis on entrepreneurship, financial literacy, success habits, learning how to be successful in the real world. The other thing too, the three of us were really blessed to have a lot of great mentors growing up, and a lot of our friends did not have that. And so the three of us bond over delivering that type of content to the world. And having that shared vision, it allows us to being like, hey, there's no ego here. For all of us, it's like, we're gonna do whatever we can to make that vision possible. And so the three of us stepping up and playing our part, being able to, James beginning a great content, running the operations, us growing the business together, it all is gonna lead to the same purpose, to be able to create some of the best content in the world to help change lives through that content.
One thing I'm gonna add to that, and the reason why our partnership has worked so well is, yes, we are friends and family. And you hear a lot of successful entrepreneurs saying, do not go into business with friends and family, like it's not gonna work out, you're gonna end miserably. While I agree with that, that is true for most people. But genuinely, there's only one reason why I think it's really worked exceptionally well. Outside of the fact that yes, we all have the same values, yes, we all have the same morals, yes, we are all aligned in terms of our goals. I would never have to worry about somebody taking money behind one another's back, but none of us are yes men. We butt heads like crazy. Yep. And the nice thing about having like a partnership of three is like if two people are like going at it, and we go at it for sure.
We do, yeah.
We go at it for sure. It is, you kind of have that third person that's able there to kind of help
think about it. If like you're gonna hire or want to work with somebody, do you want them just to go along with everything you say? Yes, yes, yes. You're not always right about everything. And so this doesn't just go for people you partner with, but the people you hire. You want to hire somebody that's going to bring their expertise to the table. You might not be doing everything the right way. So if you hire somebody that can complement your weaknesses, can kind of call out your bullshit, it's ultimately going to make the company stronger at the end of the day.
A side question to what you guys said. I think a lot of people, when they're young, how did you guys find your mentors? How did you guys do that? Because I feel like that is, not everyone has that opportunity. And I'm curious, how did you guys, because you mentioned you guys had the privilege to have one. How did you guys find yours?
Well, I think, the way that the three of us met is we were actually in the same Boy Scout troop. We all became Eagle Scouts together.
Do you guys expect that?
Yeah.
So, I'm not sure. That's awesome.
Think about this. You're grinding in school all week and growing up, and then you're thinking, oh, I'd love to go hang out with my friends on the weekend. No, I'm going to go out in the woods and camp with a bunch of Marines, because that's what led our troop. Was we had a pack of Marines telling us what to do every weekend.
So I think when we say mentors, it wasn't a lot of the times from like a business standpoint. Like, for example, and this is another crazy thing, is our dads actually served in Iraq together. We didn't even know it at the time, but like our dad, he ran the largest overseas military base in the world. Our scoutmasters and scouts, they were all Marines. Our baseball coaches, were actually successful businessmen. So I think that we kind of met them organically based off of like the organizations that we grew up in. But it wasn't like we had like people that were mentoring us from like business early on, but we just had those great role models. Instilling those like values in us about like the discipline, the hard work, the effort that you put in and stuff like that.
And there's something I want to add to that as well, is not only are there mentors along the journey, but especially if you want to do something great, there's also going to be people that are detract from what you actually want to do, people that don't necessarily believe in you. And sometimes that could be actually the people closest to you. Like one of the things that I did is I dropped out of college to start my digital marketing business. One of the things that I did was I was in my business class, and it was on entrepreneurship, and I asked my teacher, I said, so what business have you created? And he had never started one. And I was like, well, what do I have to really learn about you? Because there's a difference between, going through the trenches and actually building something from the ground up versus actually, being a part of the process of an already successful business. And so really what I want to say to this is not only are there mentors and people that can help guide you to where you want to go, but also be wary of the people who don't necessarily believe in you, and remember to cut out the noise and really just believe in yourself at the end of the day.
I think those experiences of having those mentors around, even people that like we know who not to listen to, early on it was always kind of taught us, it's like, hey, like when you show up to the meeting, go up to the the people in the room, shake their hand, introduce yourself. And that sort of skill set and being able to interact with people, people skills, a lot of those aren't taught in schools. And so through those organizations, we learned that. And I think that transpired to our ability to be able to cold approach people on the street, be able to go up and have a conversation, introduce ourselves and pitch to do an interview with us, or just walk up to somebody and say, hey, have you ever been broke before? Like those are some of the things that those soft skills that we were kind of taught growing up transpired to that.
Wow, incredible. So before we go into the media machine that fuels everything that you guys do, I would be curious, and I think I probably know the answer, but I think it's interesting to ask, if School of Hard Knocks never happened, what would the three of you be doing?
I would have been special ops in the military.
Wow.
I would have been military.
That's super cool.
Yeah, our dad was a West Pointer, had an incredible career. That's what I would have done. If it wasn't for him, like Jack is definitely the most influential person on me because I was either going to go to West Point, the military academy, or University of Texas. When I saw that he was making six figures at 17, 18 years old, working for one of the biggest, getting mentored by one of the biggest companies in the world, like that changed my whole perspective on everything. I always like to say that you can only grow to what you're exposed to, and once the mind is expanded, it can never go back to its original size. And so being exposed to that and seeing like what was possible was everything for me.
I would probably either be in corporate America right now or running my own tech company. That was always kind of the dream at the beginning of it. And then, yeah, if we didn't have School of Hard Knocks, that'd probably be where I'm at today.
At the start of School of Hard Knocks, I was knocking doors, canvassing, and selling roofing appointments. So who knows? Maybe I'd be doing that.
Awesome. So going to the media machine that fuels everything, right? You guys kind of broke down a little bit of what the business looks like today, but what is the actual, let's just say the content factory, right, look like at the School of Hard Knocks? So you mentioned that you have 30 team members today. How do you go from, scripting to ultimately, throwing these incredible interviews? And I want to point out that you guys landed here on Friday, correct? Right, and you guys landed in Orlando on Friday?
Yes.
And
Thursday.
Oh, Thursday. I saw you guys, and not even a day later or 24 hours later, you guys are already posting content with the founder of Vitamin Water, right? So I'm curious on what does this media factory look like? Because I think if one of the big takeaways I think creators want to have here is how do they systemize their processes? How do they actually build a system that enables them to grow? So I'm curious, what does that look like for you guys today?
Well, you know what I'd say, and this is just to be completely transparent, like one of my biggest flaws is like I really do not keep to a schedule. What I mean by that is, and this is something I've been very clear with the two of them, is like, look, whatever it is that you guys love and fire you up in the business, take that and run with it. And that's always been their mindset with me. And in terms of like, even when we were like, struggling in terms of like, we got demonetized, we didn't have a lot of money, the mindset and the mentality was always book the flight, bro. Book the flight, book the flight. You got an interview opportunity out there, just book the flight. They don't even care. Because 99% of the time when you book that flight, when you take that risk, it always pays off. But in terms of now, we've got like, I guess, a couple different systems. Is it kind of more so in terms of like how we like acquire our interviews?
How do you post as much as you do, right? How do you guys get those interviews? How do you, is it just someone reaching out on your behalf, or is it how much of that is organic? What does that look like?
It's just so much like built relationships. You know what I mean? And you realize, especially like in a lot of these industries, like we've recently just since May, we've interviewed like Tom Cruise, Will Smith, probably 10 or so billionaires since May, is that, everybody knows everybody, right? So it's like the guy that does Will Smith's PR does The Rock's PR. And if you do Michael Rubin, well, Michael Rubin can help you get Tom Brady, and then Tom Brady can help you get Mike Rapoli. So it's like, it's being intentional about, okay, when you meet one person, don't just make it like a one-off thing. Build a relationship, find a way to kind of add value to that person, and then that can kind of help open up doors. So to answer it is, we don't really do a lot of outreach. I guess there's one guy that I know that does a little bit of outreach to people on our behalf. That he's like tapped in with like a lot of people, but it's kind of like a big mix of that, honestly.
James, for you, but like, I think, how about you tell them about the early days of Hard Knocks? Because now, we have the brand and, people reaching out for us, but what were those early days like? where you're just going out on the street.
Oh no, it was literally like, when me and him were not in class at the University of Texas, me and him were just spending hours just walking around downtown Austin, just trying to find and interview people. Like we'd get 30 no's in a day. And I think that that's crazy. And one other thing that I want to point out here, and this is like, I don't even think a lot of people realize this, and I think this will hit you as well, is that like a lot of people see now, right? We've got 3,000 posts on Instagram, 7 million followers, 16 million collective followers. We posted 300 times on Instagram. Guess how many followers we had?
100,000?
50 followers.
Whoa!
50 followers.
300 posts and only 50 followers. And that account today, with over 3,000 posts, has 7 million.
Yeah.
So it was just a relentless pursuit, interview.
Play the long game.
Yeah, and I think for everybody out there, if you're creating content, if you're getting started, like a lot of people try to be perfect and they get stuck in analysis paralysis. What you really just need to be focusing on is getting more at-bats. I'm a baseball guy, so get more at-bats in the algorithm. It's quantity over quality when you're starting. Unless you're making like Steven Spielberg level production for your content, like relentless quantity, because through that quantity, it's going to breed quality.
Yes, that's it right there. Quantity is what breeds quality, because the more you post, the more data that you're going to get. You're going to say, okay, hey, this doesn't work well, kill it. This works really well. Let's double down, 10x it, triple down. And then the other thing is,
I don't know who caught this at the beginning, but James said like when we started this channel, it was the three of us making content ourselves about business. We didn't start with interviews. Interviews was idea number 35. It's because through that relentless it used to be, James, you post 3 TikToks, then the next day Jack posts 3 TikToks, then the next day Josh posts 3 TikToks. And that consistency and accountability every single day, posting that was able to help us figure out and experiment with different ideas that eventually...
We had a rule early on that if somebody, because we would alternate posting, if somebody did not get their 3 posts up on that day, then we would all have to, whoever missed their post would have to Venmo money to the other family. That was our rule. Like that's the one thing that it was everything. It's like, I always like to say, going viral is like hitting the lottery, but creating consistent content is like investing in your future. And that's what it was. The more you feed the algorithm, the more at-bats you're gonna give yourself, and the more you're gonna be able to take from that content. One other kind of thing I want to add on to this, and I know we could talk content all day, is that Damon John has a saying that pioneers get slaughtered and settlers prosper. And I think what he means by that is in content, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Every type of content has already been done before, right? Street interviews, every major cable television news channel has been doing street interviews since their existence, since 20 years ago. So I didn't invent street interviews. Nobody invented fitness content. Nobody invented making content about, like, somebody invented it, but like, there's not one person that is like, hundreds of people are doing that and they're crushing it. So go study like what actually works. Like success really does leave clues. And add your own kind of creativity to it and your own innovation to it. And that's like what we did. It's like, okay, the interview niche, there were a couple people maybe doing it at the time. It's like, how can we kind of be an innovator within this niche? And so it was literally like, all right, let's just go cold approach people. Let's go cold approach millionaires and billionaires and like, let's just see kind of like how that goes. And then it just popped. And then we took that and just ran with it.
I think this is a really good question, because I think as creators are building the foundation of their kind of media factory, what do you guys choose to internalize, meaning do in-house, versus what do you guys do external, meaning maybe thumbnail for a long form, do you guys hire outside? What do you decide to do in-house versus not in-house?
Yeah, so it's, for the most part, where we're at now, a lot of it is people that we work with closely, whether that's internal team employees or contractors of some sort that we've been working with for a long time. So like thumbnails, we have a contractor, but in terms of like the agency, where it's such like a process-driven business, where it's like, okay, we fly out the videographer to go film with the client, the videographer uploads the footage, then we have to edit the footage, respond to the client. Like, you can't have and systemize a process with just contractors, because you need to have control of the business and the overall product, or else you can lose reputation by providing a bad service or a bad product, for example. So I would say for the most part, especially at the scale we're at now, we internalize most of the team, especially in terms of the editing for YouTube, everything agency, and then Jack can kind of speak on the community side of things on what we kind of do there.
Yeah, of course, with our community, I mean, it started with us kind of putting the community together. There's a great article by, I think Paul Graham wrote it, and it said, do things that don't scale. And so for a lot of the ventures that we put together, we actually like to go into it and do the things itself, learn it on the ground level, and being able to learn how to do these processes so that we can take it, make a standard operating procedure, and then go find an A player to come in and be able to run that playbook for the end of time, and then the business runs as if you were. There's a great saying that like if somebody can do it 80% as well as you can, that's perfect. That's all you need. And so we've been able to do that really well by bringing in enough people, kind of preaching our vision and what we're trying to accomplish, and it's all people that are aligned with the goals and the values that we have here at Hard Knocks, and then we're able to go out and grow the business. If you are the head of, if you are the entrepreneur, if you are the creator, you should be focused on either creating the best content possible or income-generating activities the whole time. There's for us, that there's a moniker that somebody in our interviews mentioned before is that if you are the person, you shouldn't be focused on MWA activities, which stands for minimum wage activities. And so even if you're just getting started, consider hiring a virtual assistant, consider bringing in that one team member, and even maybe giving up a piece of the pie for somebody. I'd rather have half a slice of watermelon than 100% of a grape.
And that's something we should talk about as well. Is like there's one of my favorite interviews that we've ever done is a man named Edwin Ariave, and he said that you need to dream so big that everyone that works with you's dream can fit inside of it. And the reality is if you want to work with great talent and great people, if you don't have a big vision for not only yourself but for the company, great talent doesn't want to come work for you. So when you're building a company, it's not only about, okay, how can I just like you can't build a multi-million-dollar business doing $10 activities. That's pretty much it at the end of the day. So once you get to a point, you should, right? Yeah, that's what they want you to think, But so really, when you're scaling the company, just as soon as you have the resources to where you can bring on other people, provide others an opportunity, and buy back your time, so that way you can allow yourself to grow.
I love that. I think you guys are bringing a lot of points from my presentation about how you, and this is why I was so impressed when we met in person for the first time, you guys think like entrepreneurs, systems, SOPs. You guys are hiring people that complement your skills, and I think that's so impressive. We have so much to cover, and I would love to maybe have some time for questions, so I'm going to try to speed through some of these things. And finally, on the content side, are there any tools or technologies that you guys use to kind of operate what you guys do today? Any kind of tools that people could take away from you guys, like Notion or something like that?
Yeah, so project management, Monday.com, Frame.io is great for like the editing side and just the review process for working with editors, Slack for communication, Google Drive for hosting all the videos and storage. We use School for our training platform. I mean, Jack, if you want to break down the School a little bit.
I think it's good for you to have, like, if you're wanting to run training, just to have like a location for you to be able to like store SOPs and things like that to bring people in to learn the systems and processes of the business.
How do you guys make sure through the top funnel that you guys have, how do you guys direct them into the right business units, right? Because for example, like when we spoke for a while back, you guys have your agency that you guys service a lot of the people that you interview that end up being clients. How do you guys okay, so you have the 60 million followers, that's for some brand projects. How do you guys break that down? Is there a strategy behind that, or is it just like, look, we were so intentional about it that there's just a natural flow? Is there anything there is there any takeaways there that we can kind of look at?
In terms of, and this is in terms of like, how do we funnel the audience to
Correct.
their specific product? So I think it really depends, right? Because like there's a top of funnel for every single business that we run, right? So in terms of the monetization of the audience, one of the biggest things that we asked ourselves for a long time is like, how can we actually monetize this audience? We had all this attention, but like, how can we actually, provide a product or a service to that? And so one of the things that we realized is we asked the question. One of the first things I want to talk about monetization just real quick is one of the biggest.
Next. Let's do it.
One of the biggest mistakes that creators make is they assume what their audience wants. I could assume, Patrick, you love chocolate ice cream. But the reality is, you might hate chocolate ice cream. Maybe you want vanilla ice cream and you want it dairy-free. The reality is, you don't know what your audience wants until you ask. So if you have attention, you have an audience, the first thing you should do is ask them, what do you want? How can I serve you? What problem are you facing?
And just to like add on to that is we tried to build an e-commerce store and sell like motivational canvas art. We burned 15 grand and sold a couple pieces of canvas art. And we had to take that behind the barn and like just shoot it.
Yep.
And so going back into your point,
Our audience didn't want it. We never, that failed because we never asked our audience what they wanted. That was year one.
But-
then we wanted to consistently provide value to the audience. We built the base up more, and then eventually,
it's asking yourself like why do people ultimately follow us? And it's like if you think about our content, it's like we're in the bridging business. We're bridging everyday people to the top 1% of successful people in their industry. So like what makes sense there? You know, okay, the one thing that we can provide everybody around the world is access to millionaire and billionaire minds across every industry. So what did we do? We like spent months talking to our audience. Hey, if we were to put together a community where, you know, you guys can, you know, come in and get access to millionaires and billionaires, what do you want to see? What do you want to see? And we were talking to hundreds of people a day. What would you want in there? Of these 5 things, rank these from 1 to 5. What's the most? What's the least important? And that's ultimately kind of what it was. But you have to talk to your audience and your customer, because otherwise you could just be building something blind and then it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think it goes to my point. It's like asking great questions is the foundation of a good solution to a problem. On the community side, and I think a lot of creators here look at community and a paid community model as a core pillar or core business unit to their company. How do you guys make sure that you guys are adding right value? How do you guys get to the price point? Like, what's the strategy behind, like, you know, the making sure that the audience feels like they're getting what they're getting from the community?
So I want to start on this real quick, and I'll let Jack go. So first things first is whenever you're launching any business, launching any product or service, you have to understand that it's not going to be perfect. Like when you launch it day one, it's not going to be perfect because you have to receive customer feedback. That's why there's something called an MVP, you know, a minimum viable product. And the reason is so you can get that feedback. So the reality is like when we launched the product, we took the feedback and improved it every single day, every single month. And then I'll kind of let you take it from here in terms of how we improved it from now.
yeah, ultimately, you know, I love that you brought up feedback because when we did launch the community, it was just constantly wanting to ask people, like that's where we kind of brought the team in. You know, we brought somebody in that DMs everybody that comes into the community, you know, when they first join, and then we have a very straightforward onboarding process to get people in. Like our churn on the community is 7%, which is pretty good for you know, an info product. And so when people we always want to ask them, it's being like, hey, like even if somebody leaves, why are you leaving? Like what could we do better in order to improve the product? Our biggest thing was we wanted it to be a price point that enough people would be able to join and be able to provide a ton of value. I mean, we've gotten billionaires on live calls to come and join in our community, and it's $30 a month. And getting that sort of level of access for $30 to us was crazy, but it's just like, you know, we always came back to those 2 reasons why we started the channel, wanting to provide this sort of information to the world and to as many people as possible. And so we just always ask our audience, like, hey, what could we do better? What could we do in the community? Asking them, like, what do you want to see? And then we can go and make that happen so that we have the best community on the planet.
I have to ask, how are you guys getting billionaires to do this?
To do like the interviews?
Yeah, interviews are like, for example, coming on the community and giving value. I mean, I think everyone's curious to hear this because this is so interesting.
Well, to me, it's like, you know, what's one thing that billionaires want or at least care about a lot? It's attention. Maybe they have the money, but
that's right.
They ultimately want attention. And so if I can, you know, put Robert Herjavec from Shark Tank on my platform and give him his most viewed interview ever with like 20 million views across all platforms, then going to Robert, going, hey Robert, this is your biggest interview yet. Can we get an hour of your time on a call? So that's kind of what it is. Like we've never paid anybody to come do a call on our platform. And at the end of the day, this is what you got to realize is that the wealthiest people in the world are often the most like willing to give back and help out. Now there's obviously wealthy people that like they want to be paid for their time and whatnot. But like if you kind of, you know, they say if you build it, they will come. If you have a community where hundreds of people will kind of join live calls and like, you know, people, they love that stuff. You know, they love to give back. You know, they're often the most willing to kind of do that. So, but again, you know what it is though? It's providing value to them up front.
One hand washes another.
Yes. If I didn't have a relationship there, like I'm not going to go in cold and ask a guy, hey man, could you come speak for an hour and a half? No, it's like I'm going to provide that person a win. You know, this person is trying to grow their brand or whatnot. Like, put them on our platform. Let's get, you know, people that they haven't talked to in 20 years reaching out to them saying, man, I just saw your interview on the School of Hard Knocks. Then it's a really easy ask to go ahead and do that. But I feel like that's with anything. We always go into it with like, you know, the saying that life gives to givers and it takes from takers. So like if you can find a way to give value and do that initially, and I think that's one other nugget, because I think a lot of people like are trying to grow like podcasts, or they wanted to do interviews and stuff like that, and everybody's kind of always asking me, how do you recommend I go about like getting these people? Like deep dive and see how you can make it a win-win for them, especially because if you don't have a brand, if you don't have like a big following, a lot of credibility, then they don't care about, you know, the couple hundred people that are gonna like see the podcast. But if you present it by saying, hey man, I see that you just launched this book, I'd love for you to come kind of speak about it, share some wisdom on what people can get out of it, and we'll plug it in there for you. That's gonna make it way more of like an incentive for that person. So we're always looking to just give value to these people first, and then you can kind of go in there and ask when, you know, there's a right time for it.
I love it, and I think that's about, like, to my point, it's about doing good, and that goes around. And by the way, this is how we've been able to get a lot of our speakers. You know, we did not have budget. You know, last year we had nothing. Again, we started at negative, and it always started every person that we had in our network. It's like, what would be a win for you, right? It's like, when's the last time you spoke from stage? How do we get you, you know, amazing content for your personal brand? It started us just like talking to 1 million people, receiving, you know, 900,000 no's, and some people believed in our vision, and we did our best to make it such a win for them that they came out here and did it. I think we might have paid for one speaker, but apart from that, we never did. And it's all about, again, I mean, there's obviously costs involved, but it was always about making it a win-win. And I think it's about asking great questions, learning what the goals are, and you're able to kind of go through that process. So, yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Are there any, so we talked about brand partnerships, paid community, agency. Are there any other revenue streams that people might be surprised of that the School of Hard Knocks today kind of has?
I mean, like, to me, and I can speak for all of us kind of like going forward, like, I'm obsessed with like distribution now. So like, I've got 60 million followers. My core focus is like, man, how do we get to 20? How do we get to 30 million as quickly as possible? We've gone up like over 10 million followers within the last year, and that's all I'm focused on is growth. But now, to me, I think the way that you build a real media property in like a network is like just adding additional distribution. So within the next couple of years, there's going to be a lot of us bringing talented creators in and building the businesses for them. Kind of, you know, that model I think is going to crush and be significant.
No doubt, and I think, again, to my point is a lot of, again, I've had the opportunity to speak to a lot of VCs and private equity firms in the last few months for some of the Shark Tank thing that we want to do next year. And a lot of the questions that they ask me is exactly what you're saying. Before they ask, what is your product, they're almost asking, what is your distribution? Because in the world where AI is taking over all these things, it's like, how are you going to get your product in front of people? Because if you don't have that, the investor or partner is just going to see marketing expenses, because once the product is built, it's just advertising. So if you have your own media and you have the distribution, in today's world is the way to make things happen.
And just to add on to that, like how important the distribution is, it's like there's companies that are like buying the distribution. Like think about Hot Ones. Sean from Hot Ones sold for like $80 million, $1 million worth of game. A podcast on Barstool sold for $49 million, and that's the minority stake. Barstool sold for $700 million.
Yeah.
Daquan, it was meme pages that had 80 million collective followers, sold to Warner Bros for 84 million. So it's like ridiculous, like what can be done with the distribution.
Right, and not just online, but in person as well. I think VidCon, the community-centric event, sold for over $1 billion. And I could be wrong, so don't mark my words, but I think they never turned a profit because it's a big event. And so they sold for $1 billion. So talk about the in-person connection and distribution there. So it's unbelievable, the world we're living in. How do you guys decide what to say yes and what to say no to? In terms of brand partnerships, for example.
There's a great saying, if you follow the term focus, follow one course until successful. And so for us,
oh yeah, that's a good one. Come on, that's a good one.
I think when we started, you know, a lot of people, they get creators and everybody and entrepreneurs when they start out, they get shiny object syndrome. There's all these opportunities that are coming their way. Oh, it's AI and drop shipping and crypto and all these different opportunities coming their way. And so they do one for a little bit, and you know, maybe they see some signs of success, maybe not. But then this other one comes along, and so then they move. It's like, imagine if you had 10 glasses poured out. And you had 1 cup of water, and the 10 glasses, basically, you tried, I'm going to do crypto and e-com and AI and content creation and an agency. Those glasses would never fill and overflow in abundance of profit for you. But what if you just took that glass of water and filled up one of them, and it filled to the top and it overflowed, putting that focus into one thing. And so for us, we just wanted to be like, how can we focus on creating the best content possible? From there, we developed vertical integration. So if you're going to develop something, does it play off of what you're already doing? Does it make sense? Does it follow into the same ecosystem? Or is this just something completely random that diverts your time? There's a great saying that concentration builds wealth and diversification keeps it. So when you're starting out, you need to be concentrated on one vertical until you get to a point where it makes sense. It's like, hey, this is kind of running on its own. then let me go start something. If you're at that zero baseline, you shouldn't be trying to start 10 different things.
And let me say this, the biggest mistake that creators make outside of getting discouraged is they dilute their brands from doing bullshit ass deals with companies that like is irrelevant to them because they need that quick money, which is the problem. I'll tell a quick story about us real quick. This man right here, he brought us a deal with a very renowned company. It was Kalshi. They were doing like betting on the election and whatnot, but we started to look at our feedback and it was like, man, this is a financial literacy channel promoting kind of like gambling, stuff like that. Yep. And so anytime after that, we got brought tons of money from like Prize Picks and all those, and we're just like, we're okay.
Oh,
it's okay. But
I'm learning this for the first time.
There's something there though. It's pretty much like really take the feedback from your audience, genuinely. Like listen, because they're telling you what they want to see more of and what they want to see less of. So we listen to them, and the reality is why we've been able to grow to the size that we are today and monetizing this in the way that we have is because you never dilute the brand. It's okay to like, look, you have to eat it for a little bit. You know, maybe you don't get that deal for a little bit longer, whatever it may be. But just know, in due time, if you just keep putting the work in and building great relationships, everything that you want will happen and is going to happen.
And last point on that, media is a long game. Media is a long game. And we were having this conversation, the three of us the other day. It's like, if you were to go back to those like trench days, you know, we're students at the University of Texas, we're paying ourselves $2,000 a month. Like, what would you have like told yourself? And I was like, oh man, I would have told ourselves that we should start building the community. And then Josh actually, he cut me off and he said, no, I wouldn't. Because in those first 3 years, the one thing that we did was we were just so focused on just creating the best content possible that we built so much trust and value with our audience and built the brand that's now made us receptive to be able to do interviews with people like Tom Brady, Shaquille O'Neal, Tom Cruise, like the legends. Like nobody's getting those people on interviews, but it's because we were so dedicated to not going for the quick money, not doing that paid interview for $40,000 with that person that sells bullshit. And like that's ultimately like, it's okay if it takes a long time to kind of like build the brand and before you make a lot of money. And like now we're at a point now like where our businesses, they make over $500,000-$600,000 a month. And a year ago, we were just barely touching 100K a month. So it's like, it's crazy what can happen in just a short amount of time, seriously.
I just want to add one more thing on that is
That's pretty damn cool.
Genuinely, the longer you wait to monetize, the bigger the runway of trust you build up. So your audience is literally going to start begging you, like, look, how can I do business with you?
They want to give you money.
They want to give you money. So like the longer you wait to monetize and you just continue to ask questions and get feedback from them, that product or service is going to come.
If you guys double in revenue in the next 12 months, what would it be? Like, let's just say that if revenue doubles again, do you think it's going to come from brand partnerships? Will it come from the community? Will it come from the agency?
What do you think? Yeah, there's a great book called Great CEOs Are Lazy. And in that, and it basically talks about that, like, what are some of the things that a CEO can do to run a company smoother and easier? What do some of the legendary CEOs do? And one of the key points in there is recurring revenue. So for me, and these guys might have a different answer, but for me, it's like our community is recurring revenue. It's a monthly subscription. And so, you know, if you get somebody from your audience to come into that community, regardless of where the views are, the channel and things like that, that person's part of that community. And if you have a great community, they could be there for a lifetime. And that's money that's paying you every single month. So for me, if we wanted to double revenue, it'd probably be doubling down on that community
and
for
again,
sure.
the distribution, bringing the people in, building the businesses out, you know, for them.
That's where I really think it is. It all starts with the distribution, bringing on new talented creators, and we've run the playbook. We ate shit for so long, and we figured it out in terms of the monetization, the brand deals, and how to actually win at content. So now we want to bring in talented creators to come work with us, and we can build businesses with them.
You think about it, School of Hard Knocks has 60 million followers today. Next year, hopefully it's around 30 million followers. But what if we could build 5 School of Hard Knocks, 10 School of Hard Knocks versions of that each have 15 million followers each? How much is that worth?
Creative. I don't know if we have time for questions, but I would love to make this happen. I think I've been curious about this. You guys have interviewed some of the most incredible minds. Is there a trait that you see that these guys have in common, or like, for example, billionaires versus millionaires? Is there like,
Yeah, I've 2 things on this. Is number one, I always like to say billionaires, they think in decades, not days. So it's like, like I interviewed Reid Hoffman. He sold LinkedIn to Microsoft for $26 billion. And I was like, man, Reid, if you had to start from zero and you had 1 year to make $1 billion, what would you do? And he goes, I never play a 1-year game. I only ever play a 10-year game, which again, it goes back to that. It's the long-term thinking. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I've realized that a lot of these billionaires, they're not as smart as you think. They're really not that smart. And a great friend of ours is actually out here, John Morgan. Everybody knows Morgan & Morgan. We're here in Orlando, and we were having this conversation with him, and John's the first guy to tell you that I'm not a smart guy. And he was talking about how he was reading a book called Titan. And in the book, I guess they're interviewing Rockefeller, and they're asking him, John, how did you build Standard Oil? You didn't have a background in geology. You didn't have a background in science. How did you do it? And you know what he said? I hired scientists. And so that's what these people are, is they prioritize relationships over transactions, and they have that fundamental understanding that people will take you places that money can't.
One big thing that I have seen is that there's a key term, this kind of does go off the long game thing, is you want to have macro patience, micro urgency. Everybody wants the Lamborghini tomorrow. Everybody wants the empire tomorrow. But if you could hold off and think if you could be patient in the long term, but every day you're doing the things, everybody thinks our day-to-day is the billionaire, is overhanging with billionaires every day. It's a lot of just grind work and hard work every single day. And that's what most of these people did, is that it was just day in, day out, they had their head down and work. The other thing too is you can't be scared to take risks. Our first big interview was with Mark Cuban. He was sitting on a sidewalk waiting for an Uber, and James and I looked at each other, it's like, oh my God, it's Mark Cuban. We gotta go pitch him. We gotta go pitch him. Let's take this. The worst thing he could say is no. You're in the every no is a step closer to a yes. And so if he says no, we're in the exact same place we are right now. And so by us taking a risk to go up to him and just giving our pitch, we got a yes, and that was our first big interview that we ever got.
And I leverage that to this day. We leverage that to this day.
Every time.
And by the way, just to point out how you guys did this to Mark Cuban, I did it to you.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
I did it to you. We were at an event in Vegas. I saw James. I'm like, I'm gonna have to talk to him. I did my best. I was like, what am I gonna say? I just introduced myself. We connected. I met with Josh. Jack. We met obviously this event here, but it's about taking risks. And the worst I could have known is, no, dude, who the hell are you? Stay away from me. You're poaching me. But try to be a nice guy, and it worked. You know what I mean?
Let's go.
Look, we're a bit over. Icon, do we have time for questions or no?
Ooh, one question.
All right, man, come on. What you got? Do you have a microphone? Come here. He just came first, here.
I got it. You stay on the stage. This is my job.
All right.
There you go, bro. Here, take it away, John. Better be the best question ever.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Guys, shout out to the DMV. I'm from Northern Virginia. Good to see entrepreneurs from Northern Virginia. Not very common, super rare. They're all government contractors. Anyways, question, how did you identify your winning format? Because I'm sure there was a lot of trial and error initially, especially those first few years.
Yeah, so basically, like we said, when we started out, it was just the three of us making content about business. And so at the beginning, you need to experiment. What we like to say is, think about who do you want to follow you? Who are the viewers that you want to follow you? And what channels are they currently watching here? Most people are like, well, I want to create content. I don't know what to create. And so if you're able to go look at who the viewers that you want to follow you, who are they watching, create content similar, and pull from all those different creators, who are 20, 30 creators that you think you could emulate or you want a brand like. Go through their pages, write down every viral idea that they have, and then you create it, but with your own spin. And so just keep experimenting. Eventually, some of those videos might hit. The ones that don't hit, just stop doing less of that content. The ones that do, double down. Maybe it was a hook that worked, and lean into that. We're really good at making these micro pivots along the way. And when we experimented with interviews, the first one got a lot of traction. And so we kept mixing interviews with the content, and then eventually we were like, guys, our interviews are outperforming, the interview concept is outperforming whatever else we're doing. And I'm not saying that interviews is gonna work for everybody, but that's what our audience was receptive to. They liked when we asked other people about business versus us trying to talk about it ourselves. And that's when we made that pivot. And so that's how we found our winning format. It was clear. It was so clear that people wanted to hear from us through the interview format. And so for you, if you're trying all these different formats, and even if it's micro, if it's a video gets 1,000 views and your other videos are getting 100, then maybe you should lean into what the 1,000 views is doing, as long as it lines up with your brand and what you want to be known for long term. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
God bless America. Let's go, guys. Hell yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.